Hey everyone, so today I'm going to be giving you a complete guide to Aggro Paladin. I'm going to be showing you the deck, alternative card choices, mulligans, matchups, and how to play Aggro Paladin. The deck. Two Blessings of Might, as they're a good cheap buff which can allow you to get good value trades and maybe apply some extra face damage to your opponent. Two Abusive Sergeants, as they again allow you to get some good trades and can deal some extra face damage to your opponent. Two Argent Squires, as they're really good for early game trades and are a good buffing target as they have Divine Shield. Two Leper Gnomes, as they're almost guaranteed 2 face damage to your opponent, which is really good in aggro decks. One Celsi Deckhand has good synergy with the 5 weapons in this deck, being the Cog Hammer, the 2 True Silver Champions, and the True Lights Justices from the Muster for Battles. I only run one of these, as if I run 2, I usually find you cannot use its effect. Two Argent Protectors are useful for protecting important minions and making a difficult board for your opponent to deal with. One Iron Beak Owl, as I find it's really useful for silencing minions that are going to be really annoying to you and are important to your opponent's deck, and I only use one of these, as if I run another it usually ends up as a dead card in my hand which you cannot use. Two Knife Jugglers, as they have good synergy with the Muster for Battle and some synergy with the Paladin Hero Power, can use to clear the board and deal some extra damage to your opponent. Two Shielded Minibots, as they're a good buffing target and good for trading with minions, as they have Divine Shield. Cog Hammer, as it creates a really annoying minion for your opponent to deal with and can be useful for clearing the board and dealing some face damage to your opponent, and has synergy with Celsi Deckhand. Two Divine Favours, as they are really useful especially against control decks for drawing lots of cards so you can keep applying pressure to your opponent. Muster for Battle, as they have good synergy with Knife Juggler and some synergy with Celsi Deckhand and can give you a really good board presence. Two Wolf Riders, I use these over Arcane Golems, as they deal 1 less damage, and if your opponent can deal with Wolf Rider they could usually deal with an Arcane Golem, and the Arcane Golem Battlecry is really not worth it in my opinion. Two True Silver Champions, these are really good for trading with minions and deal extra face damage to your opponent. They can also be used to heal against aggro decks, which can sometimes keep you alive and win you the game. One Blessing of Kings, I run one of these, as if you have another it can usually end up as a dead card in your hand again, and is really useful especially when buffing minions with Divine Shield and creating a really powerful minion which is hard for your opponent to deal with. Two Consecrations, this is really good against aggro decks especially, as it can clear the board as they have lots of low health minions and can keep you up in the race. Also can be used to do 2 damage to your opponent and push for lethal. Two Piloted Shredders, as I believe it's the best 4-drop in the game and is really sticky and hard for your opponent to deal with, as it always keeps a minion on your board. Alternative card choices. Arcane Golems can be used to replace the Wolf Riders, as there's lots of ways to deal 1 damage to minions in the game, so Arcane Golems may survive in places Wolf Riders maybe wouldn't, and can be used to deal 1 more damage to your opponent. Equality can be really useful to clear large minions off your opponent's board when combined with Consecrate in your Muster for Battles. Annoyatron can be used as a replacement for Cog Hammer and can give you a minion with Divine Shield and Taunt, which can be good against aggro decks. Hammer of Wrath can be used for more unconditional damage and can always deal 3 damage to your opponent's face and maybe give you lethal. And it also allows you to draw an extra card, which can be good as it can draw you into something that maybe win you the game. Leroy can be used in this deck if you want maybe him as a final push. Quartermaster can also be useful to buff your Silver Hand recruits, especially from your Muster for Battles, but you may find it's too slow for Aggro Paladin. Mulligans. If you don't have the coin, mulligan for 1 and 2 drops and 3 drops if you curve well into them. If you do have the coin, mulligan for 1, 2 and 3 drops and maybe a 4 drop if you curve well into them. 3 cards that are sort of exceptions to this rule are Abusive Sergeant, Celsi Deckhand and Divine Favour, because they're going to be more useful to you in the later game. If you're playing against Warlocks or Hunters, you're going to want to keep Iron Beak Owl on your hand, as they have lots of good silence targets such as Nerubian Eggs and Mad Scientists. How to play Aggro Paladin. At the start of the game, you're going to want to try and efficiently remove early game minions using your minions with Divine Shield to gain board control. You are then going to want to create a board that's going to be difficult for your opponents to remove, giving minions Divine Shield and buffs. You then want to attack your opponent's face and only remove minions that are going to be key to your opponent's game plan. You want to try and combo cards like Knife Juggler, Muster for Battle and Celsi Deckhand together to deal some damage to your opponent's face or keep the board clear. You want to use Divine Favour to draw a new hand and keep aggression when you run out of cards, and use Consecration when you need to clear the board in an emergency situation, or you can kill the enemy with it using a 2 damage on their face. Matchups. Very bad matchups for this deck are going to be Ramp Druid and Patron Warrior. Bad matchups for this deck are going to be Control Mage, Oil Rogue and Demon Lock. Even 50-50 matchups for this deck are going to be Face Hunter and Zoolock. Good matchups for this deck are Mid-Range Druid, Mid-Range Hunter, Demon Handlock and Control Warrior. Very good matchups for this deck are Echo Mage, Mech Shaman and Handlock. Thanks for watching the video everyone. I hope this helped you out with the Aggro Paladin deck a little bit. I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like on the video or consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Bye.